Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr-Ichart. Welcome to Lovecraft County. Now, this is going to be an interesting series where I delve into pretty much a new map. Now, this map was created off the workshop, and I'll try to leave a link in the bottom there. But where I want to start off with is what this place is. Well, this is pretty much a county smack dab in the middle between Toledo and Cleveland, Ohio, right there on the lake. Right now you're witnessing me terraforming the ground, of course, trying to get a good harbor setup going. Because back in the day, Great Lake shipping was a major thing. Not as much as it is nowadays because of easier traveling and, well, better methods of getting goods across country, across areas. But I still wanted to put the port in because Great Lake shipping still does exist in some form of another. So that's why I wanted to try to put this in. Now, obviously you see me using the standard seawall setup that you see in a million other different YouTube videos, that's true. And to be fair, this is one of my first major attempts at trying to do this. I've made a couple other different attempts in the past, but none of them have worked out quite as well. So I had to go back, redo it, and I've had a few false starts with this map, only because of my own incompetence. Quite a bit of my own incompetence, but thankfully I've managed to fix most of the problems by this point in the recording. I've managed to successfully make at least about a good 30 hours progress. This is the first attempt at actually doing a serious video since the latest mass transit update. And to be fair, this is the first true series that I'm going to try again on. If you're just tuning in, you probably don't know, I did a series on Project High Rise, but my save game corrupted and I just said, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this, I just wanted to, maybe I should just do game reviews. And I'm like, you know what, I'll do that. After about a good, I don't even know what to say, multiple hours of work, I could not even do that. As I'm not a fan of Let's Plays, so I decided, let's just do a time-lapse. Because I really don't know what to talk about with people. Besides my usual vindictive nature, but I don't think that works good for YouTube demographics. And there's enough people already that are vindictive individuals that are on YouTube, so why not just do something like this? Right now you can see me just coloring the land itself in concrete, just to try to get a base idea for how I want most of the harbor to look like. Now, obvious statement is, it's not going to be all just straight warehouses and everything. I plan on putting an industrial zone down here, along with a power plant you'll see later in the video. I did a lot of work trying to figure out how I wanted to do this. And as you can tell, the terraforming part of it was driving me nuts. Going back and forth trying to make sure everything was even, everything was flat, everything looked right. Trying to find ways to change up props so that I can actually get them to fit and not look like they just receded back into the ground. Obviously, I pretty much flooded my entire area, so I had to go back through. I raised up the roads and the dock a little bit, just so I can avoid it. Now you see these starting portions. Once again, I love using the Finder tool. I love it immensely. So I can go ahead and start switching everything out here and there so I can start making things. And just to put in an idea, the amount of mods that are in this map is ridiculous. I've successfully managed to almost break my game a little over 20 times because of the fact that I have so many mods. Right now I'm currently at a little over, let's see, 3,126 mods. Now, thankfully, I have the one loading mod installed, so not everything gets loaded in immediately, only the things that I use. And I use quite a bit. right now I'm just getting a small loading area. It's like for small cargo containers set up. And as you can tell, I've got a few of the different warehouses and distribution centers that are already plopped. And I'm going through a lot of the details trying to get it just right. The bigger one that I was trying to work with, you'll see in a few moments, but I wanted to at least try to get some of these smaller ones down, add some fences around it. Yep, there's a big one. I really love this one. I love making these huge just distribution centers. And you can also see that dock in the front there. That's going to stay there for a little bit because I never got around to destroying it. I didn't like it there. It's the National Guard dock, but I have a plan for that later. Right now, I'm going to be finagling around with some greenery. I'm putting down some of the curb prop that I love immensely, just so I can try to get some green into this area. Because despite this being a dock area, I want to at least give it a little bit of color, a little bit of something. Now, I have more plants and grasses and everything in my mod catalog than I want to admit, because I want color. I want greens, I want lights, darks, all that. Same thing with dirt. I think I might have overdid it a little bit, but to be fair, I think it fits because of how much goes in, goes out, how much crud is brought into this area. So I wanted to make sure that it was grungy a little bit, because this isn't the place where you take your family for a picnic. This is a work area. Now, as you can see, I'm kind of messing with it once again, flooding my area as I try to put down the cranes and stuff. Also using one of the props so I can get the crane rails in, so it looks a little bit more realistic, trying to get them evened up as much as possible. I was contemplating putting 2 more. You can also see me trying to finagle with the road here, and all my issues with trying to keep everything from falling apart. Now, I fix that in a later on with my mod setup, so thankfully that fixes most of my problems. Now, once again, you see me plopping some more parking spots, terraforming a little bit, trying to make things as even as possible. I really love these little warehouses here, and I try to get them to mix a little bit better here, because I wanted a couple longer ones, because this dock's old. This has been around since the founding of the county, maybe even a little bit later, since I've set this in county set up in 1813. And as you can tell, I want to coordinate it off a little bit, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. I still suck at operating these mods sometimes, I swear. It comes out pretty nice. It's simple. It's not too crazy, which I have a tendency to do a lot of crazy shit. Gotta go with the guard post, though, because best way, and this is one of my other favorite mods, is just this post here. It spawns vehicles, spawns cops, all that, and it works good for this type of area. I like that. It works quite well. Now, once again, more parking spots, just as I stated before. You can never have too many parking spots in this type of area. Now, my only complaint, though, is I'm not a giant fan of how I set up the parking lot in here, because it's pretty, well, shitty in my opinion. So, as you see, I'm constantly just messing around with it, trying to make it look a little bit better. So, instead of doing my regular thing, I just did that. But as you can see, I delete the road, bring it back over. Just keep on finagling with it. And of course, gotta add a little bit more greenery in there. Because don't want to make it too, well, bland. And some of these are newer buildings, obviously. Once again, going back through and adding more fences, more gates, more ways of getting in and out of this place. And of course, doing my all-time favorite in messing with the Move It tool. And then back to terraforming, and then adding the cargo ship. I have to say it came out a lot better trying to get that in. And here's another fun thing, the larger cargo containers. Now, I kind of base this off of a dock right there in Cleveland itself. And it came out pretty good. I made mine a little bit bigger because, well, I want to. And added a little bit more, added the cranes, added some more cargo containers, added some more trucks, as you can see, just to give it a more lively appearance, even going so far as trying to add more to the actual flatbeds. And this is where I try doing something and then just give up, like halfway through. And then finally starting to get water, all that started. Doing some bug fixes here and there, trying to make sure things look right. This is where this power plant begins, like I mentioned earlier. Because it's at this point I start getting fed up with all the flashing lights telling me, hey, you didn't do this right, you need to hook it up to something. Which, thankfully, I'm happy I decided to do it, because I'm actually really proud of how this power plant came out. Because as you can see, I wanted to go for something big. And I cordoned off a nice area, I put some more substations in there, and I also wanted to put the fencing. Because as you can see, it's cordoned off in several different spots in front there. So I wanted to make sure I actually put some fences in there. Now, I did throw the water pumping station in there because I wanted to add like another little building, another little power plant there in the form of a shack, per se. Then, of course, add some cars, add some trucks for delivery purposes, like office supplies, maintenance stuff, per se. Then, of course, the no parking areas. Can't do that right there. This is where I start trying to finagle with a few of the more assets that I have on there, more decals. Then some more green, some warehouses for storage, for extra equipment, replacement parts, stuff like that. Stuff that you can have to make sure the power plant is still working. Because with a facility this big, you need to have some extra things. Storage, because this here is an oil power plant. So you need to have your towers. And since this is a large, I can't really say regional power plant, because I think that would be incorrect, because I'm not too familiar with how the power plants actually function, but this is how it functions in my brain. You need places to store all those barrels of oil, all those containers, so you need to have a big facility. And for something of this size, you need to have it a little bit bigger. Gotta grunge it up a little bit, make it look like that it's been worked in. Add some asphalt patches here and there, cracks in the ground. Then, just like with everything I do, add some scenery. Because you gotta have something. Yeah, even with all the grunge, you have to add a little bit of color to this. Because repetition is a horrible thing. Says the man who speaks and does the same things multiple times in a row. And this is where I try to get some of the just parking bumpers and everything installed, add a few handicap parking spots, which, to be fair, and I don't know, you don't think it would be in a place like this, but I'd rather have it. Then, of course, some ladders. I don't know why I have a fascination with ladders, but I like it. And, of course, the one truck that's taken up 2 handicapped parking spots. I'm not a nice person. That's more of an inside joke, but what can I say? And here we go, going through some of my failures. This is before the Plop the Grobles mod came out. So I have that already, and I have that fixed in a later time lapse. Because just, once again, these are actually rather old clips. Because this is actually from last month. I think this was, let me see. This is from the 7th of April. And I purchased this game just in February, when I recently got my brand new computer, the computer I'm using to do this on. Because my old computer was shit. And here you see me putting some barriers around the place, and some more oil containers. Because, once again, need to add some ambience, need to add some character, just a little bit of detail here and there. And with those jersey barriers, just something to prevent someone from crashing completely into something. It's, once again, it's a security barrier. Now, you see me kind of slide out there because I'm thinking, where am I going to put some of these water purification, because just so I can try to get some sewage taken care of. Well, it didn't work out well. Additionally, as you can see, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to connect everything down there. Thankfully, this is just my temporary solution, because the original design was completely horrible. I know it's horrible, and trust me, you'll see it. You'll see the better designs shortly. Not in this episode, I don't think. But I wanted to get the station down. I wanted to get a road down. I wanted to try to get stuff managed. So this was my temporary fix, despite how shitty it was. And it was time consuming. It took forever just to try to get that organized. Now, I could have just cut this out and said, hey, well, it's like I did something awesome, but no. I need to admit my faults wherever they are, and I need to show my method of madness, if you will. For heaven's sake, this place is called Lovecraft County. Method of madness is an amazing thing. Speaking of which, why did I call it Lovecraft County? Well, it's actually an interesting story. I wanted to make a map. I wanted to make a city. And I couldn't think of a name. I couldn't think of anything. And then, this was back in October of last year, or 2016, depending on when you watch this. And I ran a game. I'm a dungeon master, game master, whatever you call it. And I based it in Lovecraft County, Ohio. So the name kind of stuck. As you can see, I want to make it a reality. So right now, I'm getting the rail yard squared away. This is the last major project of this video, because I wanted to end it on a little bit nicer note, because I took forever on this. Well, forever is an understatement. But once again, I'm adding some more rail things on, just so I can make sure I can get everything in line. And I will say this does change quite a bit. But the rail yard is simple. Really simple. Actually, I can't even call it a rail yard. The cargo yard is really simple. Better. Yeah, there's a bunch of containers, bunch here and there. There's different ends of the track, obviously. And as you can tell, it's like I'm finagling with extra boxes here and there, trying to add as much as I can. Just so I have some variation. Which works out pretty well. Now, the other side is more for your lighter cargo that doesn't need to be lifted. And then, of course, the train houses. Now, I've been thinking about changing it, but I don't know. I like the old house's design. Here I go with my fences, my chain link fences again. But I'm actually really proud how this came out, despite how much time it actually took. I did cut out some of the dumber things that I did initially, but it still came out pretty nice. And a lot of the fences and everything do actually change as I'm finagling with everything. And once again, the concrete tool. One of my favorite little things from the workshop. Some more barriers. Nice little guard post with a little barrier just to make sure as I keep the riffraff out, right? And of course, parking. Because surprisingly, there's a lot of workers that'll probably come to this. And once again, jumping guns here and there. Gotta add the green. Forklifts, some more trucks. Of course, some couriers. And all the decals you can have. But I gotta say, with everything that's transpired in this video, it came out very nice. Even though I kept on trying to change everything known to mankind. And this little spot here, I actually like. Kind of a dumping ground, if you will. Then, gotta put the paper, gotta put the packages, gotta put all the extra odds and ends there. But, outside of that, we've come to the end of the video. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Lovecraft County. Have a good one.